3 stories tonight. All real, all from the kind of people who do the thing and then tell the internet about it. We're starting with the one that made me put my coffee down. A charming man from a Latin American country swept her off her feet with his sweet talk and family-oriented vibe. He asked her to be his sugar mommy, and she was shocked that he'd think she'd pay for a man. She took screenshots and cried about it to her closest friends, but they didn't take it seriously at first. One of her friends started snooping more on his online presence and found 6 different Instagram accounts using different variations of his name. They discovered that he had a wife and daughter back home, and was working illegally in her country. She contacted a close friend in law enforcement who looked up his file and found evidence of his infidelity. The group chat bombarding him with screenshots and messages from his family and friends was launched, with everyone he knew now knowing about his deceit. 30-year-old minutes after the online bombardment started, he sent her a rude message, but she didn't reply. She submitted an online immigration reporting form with all the evidence they'd found. 2 days later, law enforcement officers visited him at home and found proof of his illegal activities. He received a caution for trying to scam her, a no-contact order, and a flag on his immigration file that would likely mean he could never return. His employer received a visit next, and they found significant proof of their illegal activities. The romance scammer's life was turned upside down, and he'll likely never bother her again. Long beat. 3 weeks earlier, in a different city, a different person was about to make a much worse mistake. My grandfather gave up what time he had left for revenge on my behalf. I grew up dealing with mental health issues, thanks to my mother's addiction and father's indifference. My father was married when he got me pregnant, partner I was already an outsider in his family. The only people who showed me love and care were my grandparents on my father's side. At 14, everything fell apart, my mother almost died, and I met the man who would abuse me for 2 years. He looked like a goat, partner we'll call him that. He emotionally, physically, and sexually abused me. My grandparents' business was a law firm with private detectives. My grandfather used them to track down my abuser. He shot him 3 times in the stomach and once in the chest. My abuser died soon after, but my grandfather was taken in for manslaughter. My grandfather passed away soon after in jail from complications. I never got to visit him. 1 week later, his solicitor called me with a letter from my grandfather. He had terminal lung cancer and wanted revenge before leaving this world. He left almost everything to me, the law firm, his savings, house, and other assets. I inherited 95% of it all at just 20 years old. I'm currently working at the law firm, using my grandfather's legacy to help others, and I've cut ties with my father who tried to steal from me. Honesty, this is the part where I think most people would have just thrown in the towel. But not you, you kept going, no matter what. I'm still struggling with PTSD and depression, but I'm in therapy and opening up a safe house for abuse victims because of my grandfather's sacrifice. I miss him every day, but I know he'd want me to keep fighting, and that's exactly what I'll do. That was one story. This next one is a separate person entirely, and somehow it gets worse. My grandfather was a lifelong boxer, a career military man. He enlisted at 17, stayed in the forces through Korea and then served in Malaya and Burma as a scout and sniper. My grandfather was a certified badass even into his 50s, but not the best husband or father at times. He couldn't stand by and watch his family get hurt. That's when he decided to take matters into his own hands. My grandfather called up every ex-service buddy, bouncer, pub landlord etc. that he knew and got the names and addresses of the 5 men who attacked my dad. He then called in some favors from his old service buddies and they set out to teach these guys a lesson they'd never forget. One night, they kicked in the doors of each thug and beat them to a pulp, all 5 of them. They knew that if they hit one, the others would hear about it and run. Partner, they hit all 5 of them in one night. The men were left bloodied with broken bones, shattered teeth, and had to be fed from a tube by the end of the night. One of them was put into a medically induced coma. My grandfather then used his connections in the clubs and bars to start spreading rumors about why they had been beaten up. Soon it had gotten round that these 5 guys had fucked up, and had beaten up the wrong person. Not only were they physically broken, but my grandfather ruined their credibility. Partner, that when they got out no one, criminal or otherwise, wanted to be associated with them. My grandfather then turned his attention to Dave. He had specifically left him for last, knowing that he would shit himself knowing that my grandfather knew what he had done. My grandfather waited and asked around, and it turned out that Dave was not only a compulsive gambler but also a heavy drug addict. He followed him to where he was buying his stuff and let my grandfather know. My grandfather then called in an anonymous tip that there was a huge drug deal going on at the address. The police investigated, searched the house and caught Dave red-handed with boatloads of drugs in his home as well as counterfeit bills and a ton of other illegal stuff. Dave was charged, denied bail and ended up pleading guilty to all the charges laid against him. He got at least 15 years in prison.